This sucked. The Toronto Raptors get absolutely destroyed. Destroyed. There's no other word for it. Absolutely outcoached, out-executed, outplayed, out-hustled, out-muscled, outshot, outplayed in every way imaginable. And if you're someone who didn't watch this game and you're like, what are you complaining about on 11? Uh-oh.
On, guys. I apologize. We hear me now? We good? We good? We good? We good? My bad. Are we good now? Okay, thank God. I'm going to have to clip that. Let's start over. The Toronto Raptors get absolutely destroyed. They get outplayed, out-executed, out-muscled, out-hustled, out-rebounded, outplayed, outshot, outclassed. And I'll remind you that this team that you just played is less healthy than you are. They are missing Isaiah Stewart. They are missing Cade Cunningham. You are missing Emmanuel Quickly, which honestly at this point might be addition by subtraction. The Toronto Raptors had a very bad game plan coming into tonight. Now, I have a lot of respect for JB Bickerstaff today on the panel. I gave a lot of love to the Detroit Pistons. And specifically, I've been a very big advocate for a lot of players on the Pistons. Jalen Duren, we had a huge debate on the panel last week. Jalen Duren versus Bam Adebayo. Give me Jalen Duren, right? I've talked about Asar Thompson being a top 5 defender in the NBA, and it showed tonight. I've talked about Ron Holland. Today, I went on a completely unprompted rant about how good Dennis Jenkins is. This is a really good basketball team. This is a really, really good basketball team. You should actually be quite happy. Unfortunately, as Raptor fans, we should be happy that we actually beat this team with Cade Cunningham like 2 weeks ago. We should be pretty happy with that. But that being said, I don't think anything I'm going to say in this live, if you're looking for hope, there's a little bit of hope, but there's not a lot of cope. Because the way the Toronto Raptors played tonight was absolutely against themselves. They just beat the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers are one of the hottest teams in the NBA. They beat Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves. But that being said, they didn't smack them by 25, and they were on pace to smack the Toronto Raptors. Do you take Duren over Cat? In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Yes, I see that. And the whistle was a little uneven tonight. The Raptors got a lot of chippy fouls. Scottie Barnes picks up a technical. Sandra Mamukelashvili picks up a technical. There's a lot to talk about. But specifically, I want to talk about the part where I said outcoached. Outcoached, so thoroughly outcoached, it is actually quite ridiculous. Coming into this game, I was very curious how Scottie would handle the pressure of Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, Tobias Harris, all of whom are really good defenders. I think he handled it okay. I was very curious to see how the Raptors would integrate Brandon Ingram back. They did a terrible job of it. Terrible job. Everything became about trying to get Ingram, isolation possessions. Nothing was done to move Asar Thompson off of him. Just an awful, awful, ridiculous thing. I'll also mention excuses abound. This is a team coming off a back-to-back in a really, really hard-fought, heartbreaking loss against the OKC Thunder. You have no excuses to be the slower team tonight. None. Now, did I walk in expecting the Raptors to lose this game? Yes. Did I walk in expecting them to get so thoroughly outplayed, so out-executed? No, I didn't. And that's on coach. That is on coach. I'm sorry. That's on Darko Rajakovic. It was obvious within 1 minute of this game that Jakob Poeltl could not play in this game. Not against the backup, not against the starter. Jalen Duren destroyed that man. And when Scottie took on Jalen Duren, Asar Thompson destroyed that man. Jakob Poeltl could not guard a soul tonight. That's not shade. He is a 7-footer who occasionally his back stiffs up, perhaps. They cut past him. They out-muscled him at the rim. He had a little bit of contact. He couldn't finish through it. They out-rebounded him. At one point in the fourth quarter or in the third quarter, Kevin Huerter out-rebounded him. Holy crap. That was bad. Scottie had an abysmal scoring game. He He had 1 point at the half, ends the game on with 5 points on 2 for 8 shooting, 12 assists, 4 turnovers, 2 blocks, 3 steals. Scottie had a bad game. I think you could say it. It's not the scoring. I don't care about the 5 points that much. Yeah, it looks bad. It looks really bad. 5 points looks stupidly bad. My girlfriend was like, "You can't expect Scottie Barnes to have, a great game every day. Everyone has bad days." I'm like, "You can't have bad days like this. Mm-mm. No, you can't have 5 points against the Detroit Pistons as your team loses. You can't do that." I understand the context of why he had 5 points. I can see the spacing. I can see every single time he drives that there's 14 people seemingly on. Basketball is a 5-on-5 sport. How does it feel like every single time Scottie drives into the paint, there's 14 people in there? Jakob Poeltl is in there demanding a post up. RJ Barrett is cutting randomly across. Brandon Ingram is flaring up to the corner. Like, what are we doing here? The spacing was so atrocious. Sure, but what do you want? There's so many times where he had a shot, but his teammate had a better shot. Do you want him to not pass to his teammate? I guarantee if you go through the 12 assists that he had, 10 of them were some of the highest quality assists that you can imagine, right? 3-on-3 Kurt said, "Yo, Penn, I respect you, man. I hope the Raptors go far. You're the only one that shows Detroit respect on the show." Absolutely. This team is built after my heart. This Detroit Pistons team plays basketball the way I wish the Toronto Raptors play basketball. And that is hard-nosed, tough-minded, clear execution. Give me a W if you noticed a clear gap in how these two teams executed their offense. The Toronto Raptors played such stupid basketball, man. Just press down the middle, flatten down the sideline, let Brandon Ingram cook. Look, man, if you're an Aura Farm, merchant, you might actually believe that Brandon Ingram had a good game. You'd be crazy to assume that because he got obliterated defensively as well. But this was not a good game for Brandon Ingram. Yeah, he had an awesome dunk and a nice little, Dirk fadeaway on Asar Thompson. And if you're going to live by the highlights, sure, Brandon Ingram had a fine game. Certainly a better game than Scottie Barnes. But no, he didn't. Brandon Ingram crippled this offense, and Jakob Poeltl destroyed the defense. RJ Barrett found gaps in the middle to exploit it. Jacoby Walter had a cold start and then eventually found a rhythm later on, although he dealt with foul trouble and eventually ended up fouling out of the game. I don't have anything positive to say about the starting unit. I really don't. They were disconnected. They were discombobulated. And I got to tell you, the reason I'm saying Scottie did not have a good game is because of the defense. I did not like Scottie's defense tonight at all. Lazy closeouts, bad box outs, bad fronts, bad discipline. Just got blown by on Tobias Harris. No, you don't get blown by on Tobias Harris if you're a defensive player of the year candidate. Scottie Barnes was not the best defender in the building tonight. I can't remember the last time I can say that. I really can't. Scottie Barnes was the 4th best defender in the game tonight. Ron Holland, way better. Asar Thompson, way better. And if you want some hope, that hope came in the form of your 9th overall pick, Colin Murray-Boyles. Colin Murray-Boyles was a freaking revelation in this game. He was physical. He battled. He got on the glass. He finished around the paint, which is not easy to do against his team. He muscled. He is such a generational defender. Now, listen, you know for sure that I have a lot of love for Scottie Barnes, and I had a lot of love for him as a rookie. I thought he was an awesome rookie defender. I also love OG Anunoby. OG and Scottie are two of my favorite players in the NBA. I don't say this lightly. CMB is the best Raptors defensive rookie I've ever seen in my life. It's not even that close. Marcus Camby was one of my favorite players coming up too because he played for the Knicks. And I love Marcus Camby. I love the Camby man. But CMB is so special defensively. He does things that make you think like, whew, this is the stuff that I love about Isaiah Stewart. This is the stuff I love about Asar Thompson. And with Scottie and CMB on the court, the Raptors were able to do some really cool things, right? So I think the Raptors found a lot of positivity in the second unit. Now, to those who didn't watch the game, let's give you a little breakdown of this game. And those who did watch this game, let's go back and relive the hell that we just experienced. So the Toronto Raptors, from a game flow probability, I think the Raptors played pretty awful in the first half. What what was good for them was they forced a ton of turnovers, and Scottie is really good at turning turnovers into offense for the Raptors, and a lot of pitch aheads to Jakob and RJ. Again, if you watch this game, if you sincerely watch this game, you would be hard pressed to say Scottie had a bad offensive game. Like, he was generating clean looks, the easiest buckets the Raptors got all night. And buckets were not easy to get. I think Scottie put on a passing masterclass. Masterclass. His passing was A plus plus. Amazing. Scoring, not so much. Shooting, not so much. Free throw shooting, 1 for 4. Holy shit. But the defense, not enough. You needed Scottie to lock in defensively. Too many times in today's game, we got cross matches, breakdowns, two guys going to the corner shooter, leaving Jalen Duren wide open under the basket. We'll take a look at some of these breakdowns in the film session, but I think, honestly, it's kind of disappointing how often the Raptors are so Jekyll and Hyde. The Raptors have had so many games like this. Need I remind you, this is a team that has been blown out like quite a few times. We had a game like this against the Clippers just a few days ago. Phoenix was a blowout. The Clippers, that was a blowout. Okay? Houston, not so much. But two blowouts? And now we got a third blowout, and then we got New York. That was a complete blowout. That's 3 blowouts since January 28th. I don't like it. This team really picks and chooses when to go in, and they quit on each other way too easily. I don't like it. I don't like it. And I'm saying this now. It's not a good omen for the playoffs. It's not a good omen. And how much this team bends itself to accommodate Ingram is really stupid. Scottie Barnes is a really smart basketball player. Jamal Shedd's a really smart basketball player. CMB is a really smart basketball player. I'm told Darko Rajakovic is really smart. How is it that 4 really smart people don't understand what is happening? The Pistons are not, like, the Pistons are a great defense. They're the number 2 defense in the NBA for a reason, right? Behind, you could argue 2-3. Okay, between them, San Antonio, OKC, pick your poison, depends on the day. Those are the best defenses in the NBA. And honestly, without Cade, they're an even better defense. For whatever reason, their defensive rating reflects that they're even better on defense without Cade. So you are going to face a really, really good defensive team. The last thing you want to do to a really good defensive team is get stagnant. Ingram just dragging possessions or farming with the fucking basketball. Just horrible, horrible play. And again, it's just the defense. When you don't get stops, you can't run. And it's impossible to run. Jalen Duren so thoroughly outclassed Jakob Poeltl. You could have been mistaken in thinking that Jakob Poeltl was 40 and Jalen Duren was in his prime. But then you realize, I think Jalen Duren's like 22. Holy crap. Like, it was so obvious the Raptors should not have started Jakob Poeltl in this game. You needed to start CMB. When he showed that he was willing to body up to Jalen Duren and Paul Reed, I want to let you know, Paul Reed destroyed Jakob Poeltl too. Paul Reed destroyed him. Asar Thompson destroyed him. Jalen Duren destroyed him. Okay, Jakob Poeltl has had a few good games over the last couple of weeks. So we're going to give him some grace and say maybe this is just a bad back day, or maybe this is just a bad matchup. But if this is a bad matchup and Scottie has to guard Jokic and Scottie's presumably going to have to guard Embiid, then at this point I have to ask you, are you about to pay $26 to $27 million a year in a couple of years for a backup big? Because that kind of sounds like it. It kind of sounds like that's what we're about to do here. We're like, you want to talk about Brandon Ingram's contract and Emmanuel Quickley's contract? That Jakob contract could be frying this team for the next 4 years. You could ruin Scottie's prime with that contract. So unless you're planning on a buyout, like, you better think long and hard on who you draft next to complement that center rotation, and you better think long and hard about Jakob Poeltl probably being a 20-minute a game guy off the bench in special situations in a couple of years, because this athleticism thing is not going to stop. I have been on record for years saying I don't like signing guys past 30. unless they're great, like great. And if I had reservations about Pascal, and if I had reservations about Fred, you better believe I have reservations about a 7-foot center. This is not good. Like, yeah, you're gonna have to give up first round picks to get off of him. Like, this is not a contract that is easily movable. Brandon Ingram had 22 points, 7 for 15. To the Game Time app people, you'll think he was awesome. 7 for 15, 22 points. Sounds great. Sounds great. RJ Barrett, 24 points, 7 for 12, 8 for 10 from the free throw line. Really great to see him, do that. I think RJ was very opportunistic in this game. They guarded him with Duncan Robinson very often, and he was able to get free. He often had the weakest defender on him. And I think they always have like one weak defender. I don't even think Kevin Huerter's a bad defender. I don't think Duncan's a terrible defender. But these are definitely the matchups where you can exploit. And you wonder if Ingram or Barnes had that matchup, could they have exploited it too? Perhaps. But RJ has a great affinity for off-ball action, running in transition. And the easiest baskets that the Raptors generated, he was often the recipient of those easy baskets. I don't think this is some great game for RJ or great game for Ingram. I think this was a bad game for Ingram personally. But with RJ, I'm willing to say this was a neutral game. This was a good-ish game for RJ Barrett. Scottie Barnes, again, offensively, I'm really, really happy with the passing. One of the turnovers was really bad. For the most part, they weren't really bad turnovers. One of them was just a miscommunication with Ingram coming off like a little cut to the baseline. I'm not really against it. I think he had a really fine game overall. If you told me he had 8 turnovers in this game, coming into this, I would have believed it, right? But I just think Ingram's pace was bad today. Like, he just wanted to slow everything down. He wanted to bring it down to he wanted to bring the game down to his pace. And you're facing a team that's on a second night of a back-to-back. They have an okay rim protector in Jalen Duren. He's not a great rim protector. You need to attack early and often in transition. And I think that the Raptors found lightning in a bottle in that third quarter, I believe, with Scottie Barnes, and it was like CMB, Scottie, Jacoby, AJ. That lineup did a really good job. And in the fourth quarter, we saw Jacoby enter that lineup. I think Jacoby was on the court too. It was Jacoby, AJ, Jamal Shed, Sandro Mamukelashvili. So I guess Mamu checked in for Scottie, and that was change. But regardless, Jacoby plus AJ Lawson plus CMB was the magic formula tonight. Put Scottie out there, put Mamu out there, and you probably have a really competitive game. But we know that regardless of how badly Jakob Poeltl is getting fried, and obviously the Raptors know Jakob Poeltl is getting fried. You don't like Jalen Duren so badly outplayed him that Scottie Barnes ended up having to guard Jalen Duren. And then again, Jakob Poeltl is now on to Asar Thompson. And what did the Detroit Pistons do? Asar's not a good offensive player at all. He's not a scorer. He's not a big bucket getter. They put the ball in Asar Thompson's hand and said, go cook this guy. This is how teams think about the Raptors. Go hunt the guy that RJ Barrett is guarding, Ingram is guarding, Poeltl is guarding. So basically, don't go to the guy. And again, this is where I say Scottie loses points also in this game, because there's sometimes where I think he did a really bad job of being physical with Duren. Now, I understand Duren, probably one of the strongest players in the league outside of Steven Adams. It's not easy to box him out. It's not easy to put up a fight, but put up a fight. It's not easy to win the fight, but put up a fight. Like, put up a fight. Box the guy out. Scottie was just standing there waiting for rebounds to float past his head. No, I don't like this game from Scottie at all. Off the bench, Jakob Poeltl had 13 points. Again, the box score casual is going to be like, oh, he had 13 points. Scottie had 5. Man, shut up. How did Jacoby Walter have 3 points and he made such an incredible impact on this game? Kind of makes you think, right? He was so interesting in this game. Goes 1 for 6 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3, totally uncharacteristic. He's been shooting 40% every single game. And Jacoby had a tremendous impact on this game. His motor, his intensity, his propensity to run in transition, connective passing. It felt like a good game for Jacoby, yo. It really did. Sandro Mamukelashvili, shot-making masterclass in the fourth quarter, really struggled early with the physicality, but I think he really found it late. CMB, my player of the game. Easily my player of the game. Like, so easily, it's not even funny. 14 points, 10 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 block, 7 offensive rebounds, 5 of them on the exact same possession. So kind of stat padding there. But the 14 points were very impressive. If I have a runner-up for player of the game, it's AJ Lawson. 13 points in 19 minutes, plus 16 in a game where his team lost by 11. That's impressive. I think AJ Lawson played really well. He was active. He was very low usage. He filled in gaps everywhere. Oh, I agree with you. The Pistons hold, the Pistons grab, the Pistons, they box you out hard. Scottie took a really, really nasty tumble in that third quarter where, Kevin Huerter inadvertently tripped him, stepped on his foot, and Scottie goes down really hard on his left knee. And I was holding my breath there. I think we all were. I don't know, man, but I got to tell you, like, Grady Dick couldn't get into this game. Markelle Fultz, Garrett Temple obviously couldn't get into this game. A lot of the Raptors players are with the 905, including Trace Jackson Davis. So the Raptors didn't really have a lot of options here. But you know what? A big body like Trace Jackson Davis probably would have been a better matchup for Jalen Duren tonight. I'm not saying he's stopping Jalen Duren. I'm definitely not saying that. But maybe at this point, he's a little bit more mobile. Maybe a guy like Jonathan Mobo could have been a little bit disruptive off the bench and punched you up with a little bit of, a little bit of defensive intensity, maybe some passing lanes. The glaring gap between these two teams is one team is just so much more athletic than the other. From the Pistons side, Jalen Duren with a complete masterclass, best player on the court by far. 31 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, plus 7. Really good game from him. Duncan Robinson, super efficient, 19 points on 9 shots. Great. And I was not a fan of that signing. And I just thought, wow. Dennis Jenkins continues to impress with 21 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. And off the bench, we had another good game from Paul Reed, an incredible player that I wish the Raptors would have signed years ago. Really like him. And Karis LeVert, even, he gave Scottie a little step back. Oh, man, that was depressing. Karis LeVert, Ron Holland, like, these are not good shooters. Ron Holland had 1 point tonight, but I think he made a great impact. Marcus Sasser, great 3-point shooter. Kevin Huerter hasn't been a good 3-point shooter for a couple of years now, but I do remember saying many, many times that I wanted to trade for Kevin Huerter because I just thought his combination of neutral floor level defense plus connective passing plus off-ball movement plus movement shooting plus finishing. I just think Kevin Huerter is a very underrated player. And y'all know I'm not a fan of the American white guys sometimes, but I really like Kevin Huerter. It's a really weird thing. Even when I didn't, okay, so first of all, I used to not be a fan of American white guys, but then Con Knipple happened and Cooper Flagg happened. And then I realized I also like Chad Holmgren. So I was like, you know what? Maybe these American white guys are pretty cool. Paige Becker's also my favorite player in the WNBA, apart from Nafisa Collier. So I was like, you know what? I'll give these guys a chance. I'm willing to get over my Adam Morrison heartbreak and the annoyance that I felt every single time I watched JJ Redick and a lot of those Duke guys. But man, I got to tell you, Kevin Huerter has always been a player that I have liked. Always. Always, always, always. I have always liked this guy. And even when he was struggling with his 3, I'm like, dude, look at the shot form. We talked about it on PC like last week. People saying like, oh, he's not a good 3-point shooter. No, he's a good shooter. He's been a good shooter forever, right? Cade Lover saying Cade will never have 5 points in 28 minutes. You're correct, because Cade would take 25 shots to make sure he didn't have 5 points. And if you think Scottie taking 25 shots tonight would have been helpful for the Raptors, then power to you. Okay. Shout out to Kelly Olynyk. Why are we giving Kelly Olynyk a shout out? Karen Hall 113 said, why not put Scottie back in when Jacoby fouled out? That lineup was on a roll. I think Darko wanted to be politically fair to the bench and just say, hey, the starters dug us in this hole. The bench got us out of it. I'm not going to put in any starters. But interestingly enough, the bench was doing that against Jalen Duren and Duncan Robinson and Dennis Jenkins, who are all starters. So the Raptors bench plus AJ Lawson plus Jacoby Walter. Jacoby was the only starter on the court, right? Yeah, honestly, the 69 is kind of frying me as well. We're just gonna ban you. We're gonna assume that this is your one victory lap of the year. And to you, I say, you know what? Shout out to the Pistons, rooting for y'all in the playoffs. I kind of hope the Pistons make it to the finals. Although I realize the Scottie Cade conversation is going to be very, very, very negative. Uh, I don't really care. I like teams that are gritty and work hard, like being rewarded. And I think it would be a really great story for the NBA as well if a really tough nosed defensive team made it to the finals. They are my pick. Just so we're clear, they are my pick. Bro, Darko too political. This is basketball, man. Again, like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It is basketball, but the politics are a part of it. This is basketball, but it's a business, right? It's a business. You got to acknowledge that this is a business. You're not going to be able to outright, bench players without massive controversy. Okay, let's take a look at some of the film for tonight's game. It's not gonna be a super long live, dude. I've had enough. I've had enough of this game. I want to do a longer I want to do a longer live tomorrow. Maybe do a film breakdown of like critical mistakes the Raptors made and how the Raptors using Ingram the way they do fries their offense, and maybe look at like 15 Ingram possessions and just show like this is why this doesn't work. But yeah, that's funny. Uh Rob, thoughts on Masai? So Masai Ujiri just became a partial owner of the Toronto Tempo. The Toronto Tempo actually have their expansion draft, I believe, on Friday. I'm very curious to see who. It's a snake draft, and the Portland Fire will pick first, and the Tempo will pick second and third. I'm really curious who other teams will leave unprotected. Honestly, most WNBA teams aren't super deep, so I wouldn't be holding my breath. But if somehow the Dallas Wings leave Isaiah James unprotected, I would be very excited to have her. I think generally speaking, Teresa Reck is a very good scout. Like she has a good mind for it. Yeah. Is Gigi available? Yo, I thought you were talking about Gigi Bryant. I was about to ban your ass. You're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, oh man, I'm sorry. I was just like, there's no fucking way he said that. Sorry. I was sorry. I saw red there. My bad. My bad, Jigsaw Puzzle. Whew. Sorry. Okay. Juju Watkins is not available. Yeah, she's not available. That was a crazy typo. I agree. Okay, let's get to this. Bro. Okay. Look at all the effort to get Ingram open on this play. Now, this is just, I don't know how else to put this. This is just bad offense. Jamal Shed is just surveying, waiting. Look at how stagnant this defense is. What's open right now? You know how easy this is? Look at Asar Thompson sticking. And here, oh, congratulations. Now you got Jalen Duren. Is that an advantage? No, because Asar has recovered. Do you pass out to RJ Barrett? No, because the ball keeps sticking in your dumbass hands. Sorry. Ingram needs to pass. He made an effort early in the game, but then the minute the Raptors got down by a little bit, he started to do this shit. It's just a really bad process. Okay. Really horrible process. Terrible. That was a turnover. Okay. I said Jakob Pertl needs to stay on the bench. Okay. So again, I understand that this is Asar Thompson and you need to guard him. But what is Brandon Ingram there for? Okay. So now Jalen Duren is being guarded by Jamal Shed. Dennis Jenkins is wide open. Jakob Pertl is so-called guarding Asar Thompson. Okay, let's see what happens here. Now we get Dennis Jenkins getting the ball. And now Jamal Shed is going to close out to Jenkins, correctly so. And Jakob Pertl is slow to the ball. This is just getting outworked. I'm sorry. This is getting outworked. You need to put a body into someone like Jalen Duren. He's one of the best rebounders in the NBA. You can't just jump with him. First of all, he jumps higher than you, so you really can't jump with him. You need to put a body on this dude. You need to put a shoulder into his chest. And you know what's interesting? The last time these two teams played, Jakob Poeltl absolutely won this battle. So it's shocking to see how badly Jalen Duren returned the favor tonight. Now, at this point, put a hand up. Put a hand up. Put a hand up. Why are you reaching? You're so lucky you don't get called for a foul on that one. Dude, that's so funny. Wiener Schnitzel. Sorry. Jakob Poeltl went to the school of Wiener Schnitzel. Like, what the fuck? The wiener part is crazy, but okay. All right. I said the Raptors are crawling back. A little bit of Brandon Ingram mid-range aura farming. Hey, man, whatever makes you happy. Good shit. Good shit. Make the shot, right? I said, my rook. That's my rook. This is how you need to play against this team. Quick. Everything quick. Quick, 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 quick. This is how you need to play against this team. Why do you need a second-year player and a rookie to the Pistons can't guard this. I just want to be clear about that. If Scottie Barnes and CMB run this exact same play, or if RJ Barrett and Scottie Barnes run this play, or if CMB and Mamu run this play, regardless of how many different variations of this, there isn't a clear defense to this because as you can see, when you go fast, they end up with Kevin Huerter as the low man. That's why you go fast, because here Paul Reed can't recover. But when you bump, grind against a really, really good defense, you're going to end up in bad situations because they're always going to be able to plug up all the holes. And here, CMB, nice little poster. And then, Kevin Huerter turned into Michael Jordan and said, I took that personally. Coast to coast Ingram. I do like this. I wish he would do this more often. This is good. I like this. Tobias Harris off the dribble. Paul Reed, little late. Paul Reed's a pretty good shot blocker, but he is not really anywhere close to the defender that Isaiah Stewart is. So trust me, man. If the Raptors end up facing this team in the playoffs, get ready to cry because this is not going to be fun. I said Scottie can pass like that. Some of the passes that Scottie threw in this game were absolutely best passer in the league passes. Like Jokic highlight passes, Magic Johnson highlight passes. I'm not even gassing it. Watch this pass. Cross. Look at that pass. I had to slow this one down because it's so impressive. Because every time Scottie throws a pass, you can sort of tell nobody's expecting it. Nobody right here is playing Scottie for the pass. Nobody. So by the time he throws it, the defense can't even recover. He threaded the needle, as Jigsaw Puzzle said. Right? Just such an impressive pass on that one. Colin Murray Boyles is so cool. Okay. Here we get a switch where you want like Karis LeVert is thinking, I need to get Scottie Barnes off of me. Right? So he asks for a screen so that he can switch on to CMB. And CMB said, hold my beer, bro. And he just whacks it away. You imagine how scary this guy is to play against defensively? It's just awesome. And once again, what do we see? Fast. Okay, well, this is just insane. And this was just over and over and over and over. And eventually a pass out to a non-shooter who passes to another non-shooter who proceeds to brick the shot. Congratulations. The Raptors couldn't fucking hit a 3 tonight to save their lives. Now, this is truly crazy, but actually, I think I should show this version. Okay. This pass is so crazy. He just does shit like this all the time, and you just look it off. Look at nobody thinks this pass is going here. Did you see Jalen Duren's face? Just look at this. Look at Jalen Duren's face. Oh no. He has no idea. Scottie got rid of this ball so fast that nobody even knew the ball had, like, that's crazy. The best part about this entire play, and Scottie has a little bit of magic in him after all, is the reaction after. Scottie looking at Darko Rajakovic like, first of all, the showmanship to look off at Darko. So he looks over at Darko. First of all, why is he looking at Darko? That was so funny. I'm sorry. In a terrible, terrible overall game, that moment was very cool to see, because I did say that Scottie was one of the best passers in the NBA many times, and I really do think he is. This is not the same play. This is a different play. Watch how quickly this happens. What is the divide between the Toronto Raptors right now? Ingram wants to play slow. Quickly wants to play slow. RJ wants to adapt and score. Scottie wants to play fast. Now, here you say, why does Scottie not score more? And the question is, what do you want him to do here? Do you want him to cut into RJ's space? RJ's not looking to pass to him. Very often, RJ Barrett and Brandon Ingram tonight were, I'll go if I can go, and if I can't go, I'll find whoever I see is open. And very often that meant that they're passing to Jakob Poeltl in inopportune situations, or they're passing to Jamal Shed above the break. It wasn't great process at all from a passing perspective from the Raptors tonight. And again, coming into this game for the last 4 games, this is a team that's been leading the NBA in assists per game. So it just felt like, and by the way, this was a miss. Good shot. I don't have a problem with this. It's perfectly fine. But I would like the Raptors to see something going towards the rim. You have a tilted floor. You have an advantage. Now, I said Scottie threw some crazy passes today. Perhaps the 2 passes we've already seen were absolutely insane, right? But this pass right here is so I don't even have words for this pass. That's Asar Thompson and Dennis Jenkins, both really good defenders. Jenkins is contesting this pass. Asar is an extremely reactive off-ball defender. To thread this past Asar like this and to manipulate him like that, oof, that's tough. That's tough. Another dime, not of the super impressive type, but also an exhibit of how much Scottie has grown as a pick and roll playmaker, and also the advantages of a jumbo playmaker. Again, this is a tough finish from RJ Barrett. Very tough finish through Jalen Duren, gets the foul as well. At the half, the Raptors were down 5. Within 2 to 3 minutes of the third quarter, they were already down double digits. And here is me saying, if the Toronto Raptors want to win this basketball game, they need to. Oh, there's another beautiful pass by Scottie Barnes. This is really just aura farming at this point. I know I'm saying aura farming a lot because I've been thinking about Brandon Ingram, but that is such a beautiful pass. And you really have to understand basketball to just really fully appreciate. I don't even think you need to understand basketball. I think you just be like a general human being who's never watched basketball, and you'd be like, that's something very cool about that. This is a defensive breakdown that should never happen. So you have CMB and Scottie on the floor, which is usually good, but both are in the upper third of the defense, which is very bad. And this is the advantage of having a big playmaker like Jalen Duren, who can deliver this high top side type of pass or the high low pass. RJ Barrett is fronting on Tobias Harris. Not effectively at all. Harris is going to push off on the release. Here, Ingram is going to recover. Now, the second this happens, RJ has an obligation to find Ingram's man because now Ingram is helping you. And RJ Barrett is nowhere to be seen. Asar Thompson wide open. This was one of the most depressing defensive breakdowns because Ingram finally helps. Right? That's a good job. But this is the thing. When you're not a great defender naturally, you putting in effort is only half the battle. A better defender would know that the cutter was there and would be trying to cut off that pass. Ingram had no idea where the cutter was. All he knows is Tobias Harris is open. Let me put a hand up. And honestly, at this point, that's maybe the most you can ask for Brandon Ingram is to cut off this pass. So the problem starts when these two are involved in just about anything. Both are weak defenders. Both of the weakest defenders that the Raptors played tonight. And when you involve the two of these guys in anything that requires switch, cover, scheme, I'm sorry, rim protection, you are already in a very, very bad situation. But this is why you say you need to manipulate the court. You need to manipulate the court. You need to shift the defense. You need to go side to side. You need to go side to side. You need to lift the paint protection out onto the perimeter. And you need good ball handlers, spacing bigs. You need a lot of personnel to be able to do that. But apart from that, if you don't want to go through the process of that, then run. The Raptors didn't run enough tonight. I don't think they ran with enough purpose or pace tonight. And the few times they did, they were relatively successful. Now, this is a good and bad situation where immediately we're going to see Brandon Ingram. This is how Brandon Ingram plays basketball, right? You have a situation here where you can attack right here, but you don't attack right here. You wait for the paint to get even more congested, the help to get even more loaded, but then you dunk on everybody because you're so freaking talented, right? Brandon Ingram does need to stop doing this. Look, I'm criticizing a guy for hitting a dunk. I'm not criticizing it, but just understand what I'm saying. Right here, you receive the ball, right? Paul Reed can't guard you. Kevin Huerter probably can't guard you. RJ Barrett probably has an obligation to cut to the corner. But if RJ Barrett is going to cut to the opposite corner, it only works if he's a shooter. That's the problem. If that's Jamison Battle, then Huerter has to leave, right? But because it's not Jamison Battle, you'll see Huerter is more than willing to just kind of stick around. And RJ Barrett does not go to the corner because Scottie Barnes is already at the corner. So the question is, what the fuck is RJ Barrett doing? And RJ Barrett's like, oh, wait. This is not my scoring turn. This is Brandon Ingram's scoring turn. Like, what the hell? It's weird. Like, these two players very often, Ingram and Barrett, like they so often have these bad tendencies off the ball where everything just becomes about them. Everything's built around them. And they don't leave a lot of space for other people to score away from them. Like, they'll leave space for them to manufacture shots, but they don't leave opportunities for other people to cut through their gravity. And I think that that's a big problem. And that's where, you really have to say, do you win if you start Mamukelashvili instead of Ingram tonight? Probably, possibly. You have a much better shot. Do you win if you just start Jacoby and Jamison Battle? The Jamison Battle was not healthy tonight. Instead of who you started? Do you win if you just start CMB instead of Jakob? Like, you're not that far off. Like, Ingram is absolutely frying momentum here. Now, Brandon Ingram on Kevin Huerter. This should be a workable matchup for Brandon Ingram. He's doing a good job here. Trying to fight over the screen. Jakob Poeltl needs to fucking roll. What the hell is going on here? Is Jakob Poeltl's brain buffering here? Watch this. This is not rocket science. Okay? This is not some super complicated play. Kevin Huerter is not Steph Curry. So now, once Ingram is like, I understand, but you need to close the gap on this pass 100%. And Huerter makes this pass. Now, if Jakob is not going to get there, and RJ is not going to do anything, then you end up with situations like that. And you know what I can almost guarantee, like with some degree of certainty? If by some miracle you had forced a miss, Scottie Barnes wasn't in great rebounding position and probably would have given up the offensive rebound there. So it's just a cascading degree of issues. Now, I want to show some love to the Raptors' second unit tonight, or second and a half unit. Watch this. This is how you play against this team. Attack off the dribble. Quick decision, corner, but why do you make this pass? Look at the defensive orientation. You have Duncan Robinson, Dennis Jenkins, Kevin Huerter, right? Robinson cannot guard two players at once. Passing out to Sandro Mamukelashvili would disrupt momentum and would easily allow Tobias Harris to close back out. You have 17 seconds on the clock. Faking this pass to Jacoby and pulling off a no-look past or behind the offensive player or defensive player allows AJ Lawson a wide open three. I love that pass from Jamal Shed. It's a great, great pass. But the spacing was so much better on that drive for Jamal Shed than it was for any drive that Scottie Barnes had tonight. I said if the Raptors come back and win this game, which I was going to say in brackets they won't, build a statue of CMB and Mamu tonight. CMB against Jalen Duren in the immediate. Look at how fast this team is playing right now. Just watch. This is all real time. CMB pass, immediately screen. Immediately roll. Look at the pace that the second unit played with. Look at this frenetic decision making. The second unit is forcing the Pistons defense to make 6 decisions every 10 seconds. And the Toronto Raptors first unit was maybe at most forcing 2. Exactly. No ego basketball. It was no agenda, nothing. I can guarantee you right here. Look at this. This makes me so mad. Sorry. Selfish basketball drives me crazy. CMB is not trying to force anything here. But he also knows that Jamal Shed is not just going to beat unassisted, without help, Dennis Jenkins off the dribble. So CMB is selfless. He is actually running out here, not so that he can score necessarily, but rather to give Jamal Shed a pocket to score. And here, his gravity as a roller distracts the defense so much that Sandro Mamukelashvili gets a wide open 3. And Mamu does not pass up a 3 that is made for him in that situation. Everything there was created by Jamal Shed and CMB working together very quickly without an ego. So 2 people work together to free up a shot for a third person. To people who want to be really mad at Scottie for having 5 points because you have some sort of collective shame over your franchise player having 5 points, go look at the teammates that he was playing with and ask yourself who did something for him tonight. CMB did, Jacoby did. But what did RJ do other than receive passes from him? What did Ingram do other than get in his way? It's kind of just, it's frustrating. I like Brandon Ingram, yo. I do. I'm rooting for this guy. But it is getting hard in these streets right now. Now, when I say Colin Murray-Boyle is the best Raptors rookie defender I've ever seen, watch this play right here. Now, we got about 6 seconds, 7 seconds, and here the Raptors are able to force a backcourt violation. This is the stuff that really, really makes you think, if Colin Murray-Boyles can ever shoot, is this an all-star? Is this an all-defense plug for like 10 years? This is a really special defender, dude. This is one of the more special defenders I've seen in NBA history. Like I say Raptors history to be kind. This is one of the more special defenders in NBA history. This is probably one of the 25 best rookie defenders I've seen in my lifetime. He's amazing. He's so good. And so I feel like with him and Scottie and one more defender, you could be the Pistons next year. You know what I mean? But you got to find a way to keep him on a court. And maybe you need an offensive engine that's more functional than Ingram. You know, a shot maker or a spacing big that can create some space for CMB to actually move. But CMB is so intelligent and his understanding of the game is so elite. You need to just get this guy shooters. He's got good playmaking instincts. He's got good driving instincts. I've compared him several times as a driver to RJ Barrett a little bit. He's a little bit of an under the rim finisher, which is the only drawback. If CMB was an above the rim finisher, he would have been the second overall pick in last year's draft. I got news for Dylan Harper, VJ Edgecombe, and Colin Knippel. If Colin Murray Boyles was an explosive at the rim athlete, 6'8", if Colin Murray Boyles had Scottie Barnes' metrics and shit, he would have been the second or third player picked in the draft. He's basically Scottie Barnes in so many ways, but with key differences. There are several differences. He is a sturdier, base. He's got a lower center of gravity. He's a little bit more stout. He might be a little bit quicker on his feet. There's so many things that these two could do together defensively. And if a coach were to, let's just say, get very, very innovative and very creative with these two, I think you could turn the Raptors into a perennial defensive powerhouse with these two as your engines. But you're going to need, and again, they're not net negatives on offense either. Colin Murray Boyles, hopefully by next summer or by next season, he can shoot a little bit from the corner. We saw it a lot earlier in the season. We don't see it as much lately. Maybe he can get a little bit stronger so that we see a little bit more finishing at the rim. He reminds me a little bit of Charles Barkley in some ways. He's not the athlete that Chuck was as a vertical athlete, but he has a little bit of round mound or rebound, with the exception that Chuck was notoriously a bad defender and Colin Murray Boyles is an elite defender. But again, CMB showed a lot tonight. Jacoby continues to play really well despite the shooting struggles. Jamal Shed was great. I think these guys are going to be here next year. I think Scottie's obviously going to be here next year. Will the rest of this team be here next year? I think it's going to come down to Darko Rajakovic, Bobby Webster getting together and figuring out if they believe that these guys can play the basketball that they want to. Now, listen, I think to Brandon Ingram's defense, you're going to need this guy in the playoffs. You're going to need RJ Barrett in the playoffs. You're going to need IQ in the playoffs. You may love him, hate him. You may think the Raptors need to trade him. You're going to need him, right? But the offense, when Jalen Johnson or LeBron James, I know it sounds so weird putting those two together in the same sentence. When those guys go downhill, their teammates create vacuums of space. There's screens set for them to attack. When Scottie is attacking downhill, it's not a screen for him. It's a screen for Ingram. It's two screens for Ingram. So two players are preoccupied to get one player open. And the Raptors do this a lot. So in that case, two players, consider the play in the beginning of the game, around 6 minutes. Now, it wasn't Scottie. It was Jamal Shed. That entire orientation on the court is designed for one player and one player only to score. It is really bad offense to be so predictable against a great defense. Lawrence Paul, 9209. The glazing and cope must stop. Mr. Top 10 player, Scottie Barnes. Look, man, Scottie did not play like a top 10 player tonight at all. He still played like a top 20 player, maybe a top 25 player, top 30 player. Passing was elite. You don't understand basketball and you're really mad about it. And that's okay. But hey, how about instead of being on here and getting mad at me or trying to take digs at Scottie Barnes and the Raptors, why don't you pick up a book for the first time in your stupid life? And I don't know, maybe Basketball 101 would help. And try to figure out if there's a chapter in that book which tells you that basketball is more than scoring. Basketball analysis is more than this guy scored 10 points, so this guy scored 35 points. 35 is better than 10, so 35 is amazing. I don't know. I'm done, bro. I don't want to explain basketball to casuals. Didn't you say that Scottie Barnes is on the same level as Anthony Edwards? Is that what you sound like? I have a feeling that's what you sound like. Are you 8 or 9 years old? Is this child abuse? I apologize if this is child abuse. I apologize, bro. How many superstars are in the league? And is Scottie one of them? Depends on how you define superstar. If a superstar is a player that opposing fans would pay to see, then Scottie is not a superstar. If a superstar is defined by, elevating impact to the level that the team is probably 10 wins worse without him, then yeah, he is. And to the point of who is a superstar, who isn't, how many are there? Most of the time there's 5 to 10 in the NBA. There's 5 to 10. Scottie is on the bubble of it. If he can get his offense a little bit more consistent, if the spacing and dynamic around him can change a little bit, I really do see no way in hell you don't think he's a superstar. People thought Ben Simmons in his prime was a superstar, and Scottie averages more points in a down year than Ben has averaged ever in his career, and nobody cares. Look, when Ben was putting up 16 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds, people called him the next LeBron James. When Scottie Barnes puts up those types of numbers, people call him the next Draymond Green. I think it's just an aesthetic bias. I think it's a optics bias. I think it's a personal bias. I think it's an angering bias. I think it's a lot of biases at play. But Scottie is that dude. And if you give Scottie spacing and screening and an offense that actually wants him to score, gives him a chance to score, I'm not saying he can go out and score 30 points a game, but I am saying he's not going to score 8 or 5 points very often. And yeah, I'm kind of fine with how he played. Like, I mean, what he missed 3 free throws. Since the All-Star break, he's on a 90% free throw shooter. So if he makes those free throws, then instead of 5 points, he has 8 points, and probably people are still clowning it. I think it's a different thing when you force your offense and you end up with 9 points, like how Paolo did, and you end up with a whole bunch of turnovers and you don't do very much for your teammates. I think it's something very different when you are playmaking, drawing help. Like Ron Holland is an incredible defender, and he absolutely was guarding Scottie Barnes, and he's great. Like some people think he's the second best player, second best defender in Detroit. And yeah, it was just a tough game for Scottie, man. Bounce back tomorrow. Sacramento Kings. Tomorrow, the Sacramento Kings are a pretty helpless franchise at this point. They are tanking. It should be an easy win, but nothing is easy when you have high variations like Brandon Ingram and RJ Barrett. Who knows? Who knows, man? Who the hell knows? Because at this point, Scottie is also high variation, player. I'm here from PC. Of course you are. Of course you are. Of course you are. I don't have any doubts about that. Obviously you are. It's amazing that people can listen to people like Mars, Chill. There's so many people on PC that really understand basketball. I'm always surprised when people like you pop up and don't know basketball. It's so weird to me. It's weird. Like, how can you watch a basketball show and understand so little about basketball? Double M Productions, or Prod 1955, said, I can't watch Ingram hoop, man. It's so bad. Shaking my head. Stagnant basketball. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Cade Lover 69, who has actually been banned since then. So shout outs to you, Cade Lover 69, for sending this. I'm still going to read this because you did devote your hard-earned American greenbacks. $5 American. Hey, man, that's like almost $7 Canadian at this point. Shout outs to you, and shout outs to the orange man in your White House for putting the Canadian economy through that. The Cade versus Scottie debate is over if it wasn't over for some of you already. Yes, it is over. Your team is 11-4 without Cade Cunningham. Our team would not be 11-4 without Scottie Barnes. We beat the Detroit Pistons with Cade Cunningham. We just got stomped without Cade Cunningham. If you need any further evidence on who is doing what for their team, I don't know what you need. Duran completely outplayed Yak. That's the game. That is the game. When you place that much, how is Rob criticizing Scottie's offensive game tonight excuses for his play? I mean, maybe some people would see it as, me saying that they didn't really create very much space for him. Don't need to be condescending. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Ah, yes, Medved Ted. Mr. Scottie is not a point guard. How do you feel about that take, by the way? I'm actually very curious. I'm not even being facetious. How do you feel about that take? Watching him today, do you still think he's not a point guard? He can't really be a point guard in the NBA because he can't shoot? Because Ben Simmons couldn't shoot a lick, and people had no issues saying that he was a point guard. And Scottie's a way better shooter than him. I don't know, man. I think Scottie's going through 1 rebound, 5 points, no defense. I think you're actually, I'm kind of disappointed, man. Like, you kind of turning into a hater at this point. No defense? Are you blind? No defense? You think Scottie played no defense tonight? Your point guard wastes energy getting back on D, bro. I don't understand that. What? 1 rebound. Oh, yeah, he was terrible rebounding the basketball. He had 5 stocks, but he played no defense. Tough 3600 said, Pen, what did you like about Ingram? Always felt an archetype you weren't into. I value shot making a lot. I figured that Ingram's struggles were because of his coach, Willie Green. Medved's head saying, when you waste energy bringing up the ball, then you don't have energy to stop during. This is a world-class athlete, dude. Like, I understand what you're saying. And yeah, that there's a fair point in that. Bringing up the ball, handling pressure, it does drain you, right? How many points Duran scored in the paint? I thought he was the point guard. Why does he need to shut down the paint too? Do you understand what you're saying? You're basically saying Scottie Barnes is having a bad game because he's not prime Hakeem Olajuwon meets prime Michael Jordan meets LeBron James. What does Scottie have to do with Jakob Poeltl getting blown by over and over again? I've criticized Scottie's defense. I don't know if you watched the full stream. I've criticized Scottie's defense in the game. I didn't think he boxed out enough. I don't think he was active enough. He didn't close out the shooters multiple times. I've been very fair on the Scottie thing. But you're not going to come up here and tell me that he didn't play defense and that he had a terrible game. Well, you don't get the best out of Scottie playing him at point guard. Sure you do. You absolutely do. You just need the proper spacing around him to make it happen. You need defenders around him. The lineup with Scottie playing point and CMB on the court actually did work. And I don't know if you know this, but the Toronto Raptors have been arguably the best team over the last 4 games prior to this game. Now, again, I said coming into this game, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough. He seemed lazy on both ends tonight. He seemed a little uncharacteristically not locked in. I will agree with you on that. Scottie did not have that gear. And I think he waited too long to turn it up. Like there was a moment in the third quarter where you did see him turn it up. I think it was just too late at that point. Laurency Paul with another idiotic comment. I leave you with this. Is this a Raptors channel or a Scottie Barnes channel? Throwing BI and RJ under the bus to cope for your franchise player. He needs to do better. Bye. So here's the thing. I believe this is a Raptors channel. This has always been a Raptors channel. And if Scottie Barnes was traded tomorrow, this would be a Raptors channel. The thing is that some players are really good for your basketball team and have the right ideas on how your basketball team needs to play. I think that this team would function better. Every single player on this team would eat better, including Ingram and Barrett. And ironically, the Barrett that I'm slandering right now, I didn't throw RJ Barrett under the bus tonight. Did I? No, I did not. I said he had a good game. I said Scottie had a bad game. What are we doing here? Man, it's okay. It's okay. Trolls will always come out. If the Raptors lose, Scottie has 5 points. There are some people who literally, bro, here's the cool thing. I think I live rent-free in your head. I really do. I think you scan the Game Time app. I think every single time the Raptors play, you look at this man said bye. Bye, Felicia. Bye, Felicia. Bye, Felicia. Bye, Felicia. You want me to wave to you? Peace. Shit. All right. It's harder for him to score at point guard because he has no range. He's a bigger threat in the open court in the half than in the top of the key versus set defenses and opposing sides. Again, completely disagree. Completely disagree. Yeah, it's okay. I completely disagree. Having Scottie in the middle of the court, whether he is the center or the point guard, is very good for the Raptors. Having Ingram and Barrett on the corners, honestly, ideally, you have better players, better shooters in the corners, but you need to spread out. Like go watch Giannis Antetokounmpo play. This is a very similar player that you have in Scottie Barnes. There are some key differentials, but honestly, when Scottie is going, he's a much better passer than Giannis. Right now, he's a much better defender than Giannis. Giannis would struggle tremendously playing with a guy like Brandon Ingram. Really. Like Giannis struggled tremendously playing with Dame Lillard. Like shit. Whew. Omer Sadiq said, until the offseason comes up, maybe adjust the lineup. Start Jacoby, CMB, Mamu maybe. I don't know. Who would you bench? So unfortunately, it's political enough that you're starting Jacoby, um, but you're only starting Jacoby over Jamal Shed because Jamal is not a starter. They would never have considered starting Jacoby over RJ or IQ, no matter how bad RJ and IQ played. And I think that's maybe an organizational thing, right? I I don't know if that's a Darko thing or an organization thing, but from my perspective, this has been going on way too long. This is an organization that just never benched their starters. I watched Hito Turkoglu be very unsuccessful, and he didn't get benched. I watched Damari Carroll be stupidly unsuccessful. He barely ever got benched. This is just not a team that adjusts. They're not. They're not. This is a team that honors the fact that you have a contract, and unless your name is Chris Boucher, they're going to disrespect. They're not going to disrespect you. If you're Chris Boucher or Gary Trent Jr., they might. But there were so many times where it was obvious that a player was being outplayed by their backup, and it didn't change anything. Yeah, I think Bobby Webster needs to take a really long, hard look in the mirror right now and just say, what have I done for this team to make it better? Now, I can answer that question very easily. CMB. CMB is a great pickup. He was eighth on my board. I'm very happy the Raptors picked him. Obviously, I would have been perfectly happy with Carter Bryant. I think Carter would have added a very different dimension to this team. But CMB is a great pick for this team. Incredible. Incredible, incredible, incredible. Jacoby, again, in the last year's draft. Maybe Jonathan Mobo doesn't work out. Possible. Maybe Ulrich never comes back. I do happen to know that Ulrich is working really hard and he's been wearing some Raptors gear lately, but who knows if Ulrich ever comes back. So Jamal Shed and Jacoby Walter, if that's all you ended up with in that draft, that's a pretty good haul, and hopefully you can get them on cheap extensions. I've liked moments of what I've seen from Elijah Martin, so maybe he can stick around, even though I did not like the pick at all on draft night. I hated it so much because I wanted Maxime Reynaud. There's some hope here. There's little elements of maybe these guys could form a Pistons like nucleus, right? She Wolf saying nice jobs, stick handling, annoying comments. Rob, huge growth versus 4 years ago when you would have been tweaking. First of all, She Wolf, I know you, so you saying tweaking is really funny to me. But yes, that is hilarious, and yeah, that's true. I've always said this. Like, I have calmed down 800%. The fact that I'm still crazy, I'm sorry. Like, I'm still a little bit nuts. I'm not as professional as Samson Folk and William Liu, but I'm just not political. Uh, who do you like with the 49th pick? I have no idea who's going to be there at 49, dude. I don't know. Baba Miller? Baba Miller would be great. I don't think there's a world in hell where Dash Daniels lasts that long, but Dash might slip to the second round. There is a point guard from Spain right now who is really good. I like him a lot. I think his name is Sergio. This is a deep draft. How long does it come back? How long does it take to come back from blood clots? It really is a case by case situation, man. Yeah. It's a really case by case. Post Martinista said, Pen, would you still pick Carter Bryant over CMB if you could redo it? Yes, I would. After every positive thing that I've said about CMB, yes, I would still pick Carter Bryant. You'll see what I mean in 3-4 years. And if you don't, I'll be happy as a Raptor fan. And if you do, then I'll be really happy as a fan of my own ego and my own draft analysis, and also a huge fan of Carter Bryant's. Who are you rooting for in the Final Four? Do you want to guess who I'm rooting for? I'm rooting for. Okay, I'm actually not going to tell you who I'm rooting for, but I'll tell you who I'm rooting for by not telling you who I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for the team with a player who comes off the bench that I met when he was 10 years old. How's that? Yeah, of course. Okay. Let's check if the post games are up. Let's watch them and then call it a night. This was obliteration, man. Obliteration. Not fun. Okay. Where we at? Also, can I give a shout out to Swipa? Actually, I'll give a shout out to Swipa. I was catching an episode on Player's Choice just the other day. Just the other day. I was not on. They were talking about Scottie Barnes because Scottie Barnes had that huge game against the Magic. And look at Swipa sticking up for Scottie Barnes in an Evan Mobley debate. Swipa was just like, respectfully, no, chill. Scottie's a better driver. Scottie's better this. Scottie's better that. And I was just like, damn, man, that's real. That's real awesome. Thank you so much, Swipa, for sticking up to him. And PC just released a new video saying Scottie proves everyone wrong or whatever. So I was like, that's cool. Tetrahedron saying true. Swipa did stick up for Scottie huge. Jared Jose saying that was not a shout out I was expecting. I agree. But Swipa and I have we have moved past, hopefully permanently, but I have no idea, man. The last time I was on the show with Swipa, he was kind of annoying me too. But I mean, whatever. Like, I realize, it's so funny. Like, I typically have a person. Okay, first of all, like, clear bias. I don't obviously love Serbian people because I'm Serbian and I have a strong, love for Serbian people. I have a strong love for my people. So obviously, if I ever heard that somebody was a student who was struggling and, they said like, oh, my daughter is in Canada and she's from Serbia, like, I'll help. Of course I will help. There's that personal thing. But I always have like that also for Nigerian people. I have no idea why Nigerian people, but I always do. And I've always had that kind of soft space. Even when I was growing up, I had a friend who was from Baltimore. And I've always had like a really like soft spot for people from like the DMV area. I've mentioned this a million times. So that to find out that Swipa is partially Nigerian, to find out that he is obviously supporting my favorite player who is Serbian, or one of my favorite players, Nikola Jokic, who is Serbian, and then to also find out that his family is from the DMV area, like that was crazy, man. That like you're like, how can you even hate this guy? It's hard to hate this guy. I mean, you can definitely try. It's not that hard. But yeah. Okie doke. Raptors media availability. Let's get to it. I'm just gonna put the screen up.
I thought that the first half was there. I thought that we competed. We played some good, very good defense in that first quarter. It's just like we did not make open shots. We had a drought in 3-point shooting in the first half, shooting only 3 for 15. Other than that, I thought that we were pushing the ball really well, created turnovers, created opportunities. We had, I believe, +8 possessions more than them at the halftime. In the third quarter, it was kind of like, it comes like the same story there. We did not make enough shots to keep up with them, and they had a great night. That's really good team, especially when they're shooting the ball the way they were shooting tonight.
In that run in the third, you guys are so focused on pressuring the ball and trying to turn it over. Something were they able to take advantage of that a little bit in that run? Were there some breakdowns there?
There were breakdowns, but not because of our pressure. It was because of the lack of communication in a couple of situations there. But that comes with the territory. Sometimes, teams gonna be, able to take advantage of those situations.
Before last game, you mentioned that it was a small sample size with Scottie on ball. That's what you've seen so far. Obviously, the Magic game ensued. It was great. In a game like this where the scoring isn't as high and the offense doesn't move, what are you learning from more of that sample size?
And it is a small sample size, and we played last couple of games without BI. BI just came back, so that changes dynamics over there. Literally every game is a new learning opportunity for us. CMB missed a couple of games. Now he's back in lineup, and usually when that happens, we need a couple of games just to get organized, like to get on the same page. I think that Scottie is doing a good job of pushing the ball. Again, tonight he had 12 assists, trying to find his teammates. as a team, they got to do a better job of running with him, making sure that we get up the floor with pace so he can actually find his teammates in the right spots.
It was good to have CMB back. He certainly turned the tide there in the first half. Got you guys back in the game.
He's a huge piece of what we're building. A very important player for us on both ends of the floor. He does a great job of connecting with the team. Even he catches the ball in pocket pass and pick and rolls. He's super important for us.
What's his knack in terms of creating turnovers, disrupting passing lanes? Why is he so special at that?
First of all, he has that in himself. He has those habits that he brought to the organization. Now working with our team, he's just taking that to another level, and he really competes. He really loves defense and loves to compete on defensive end.
You were able to really take advantage of transition opportunities in the first half, and offensively, how did things kind of dry up? And
they were shooting like 65% for like a while before. Before the end there. So, I think we did a solid job in the first half. Just, the beginning of that third quarter, just, it killed us.
What makes Stern such a handful? We can watch it, but what's it like to try and contain him?
Strong guy, man. He's a strong guy. I think last game, Yacht got the best of him last game. So, you figure he was going to come in with an extra motivation tonight. I think that's all that was.
Jay, when the shot's not dropping, what can you do to kind of keep the head high, the morale there? Because I'm sure it's very frustrating for everybody.
Yeah, we got to play defense. Play defense, get some stops. I think we did that more so in the first half. We started off not making shots. So we got some steals, got out in transition, and we didn't do that second half.
And the bench, obviously, plus 10, big spark from them. How impressed were you with their fight to try to get back into that?
Yeah, they played great. I think AJ was plus 16 today. They came in, they fought. The game was a lot worse than it was before they, came back in there. So they did a great job tonight. We're gonna continue to need that.
Yeah, hopefully they're not bailing you out every single game. But yes, anyways, flush this. You play again tomorrow. That's the beautiful thing about the NBA. Hopefully nobody here is dumb enough to think that the Raptors have a chance in hell against the Pistons. I think if the Raptors bought into how they could play and Cade goes cold from the field, maybe the Raptors have a chance against the Pistons. But again, I said this earlier on PC. I think they have the best center rotation in the NBA, and that, like, obviously, like, Nikola Jokic is the best center in the NBA. Jonas Valanciunas plus Nikola Jokic equals the entire center rotation. But when I mean center rotation, I mean like 3 different looks that they can give you at center, and they can also go like really small and maybe even put Asar Thompson eventually at center. So I just think, like, would you give a roster spot to AJ Lawson or Battle if you had to choose? Battle. But that being said, he could have Grady's roster spot or Markel's roster spot or Trace Jackson Davis's roster spot. We don't need to be waiving Jamison Battle to free up space for AJ Lawson. AJ Lawson is a 2-way. Leave him as a 2-way. And honestly, this is a really, really nice shooting development for him. If this is something permanent, if he can shoot like this, if this is just who he is as a shooter, then you need to sign him. But I've seen a lot of inconsistent shooting from AJ Lawson over the years, and on a team with already so many inconsistent shooters, you cannot afford to have another one. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Anyways, I feel like this game bummed a lot of people out. Don't let it bum you out. I said it earlier in a live stream. April is going to be our best month. It is officially April 1st. Let's start with a win tomorrow against the Sacramento Kings. We'll keep the positive content rolling, and hopefully the point-Scottie experiment will win over even its most ardent, let's call it skeptics, in Medved and several others. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. Have a great one. And yeah, thank you so much to all the super chats, including Cade Lover 69, who has been banned, as I mentioned earlier, and was insulted multiple times. All right, peace. See ya.